Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya.
जय गुरु जी, जय गुरु जी संगत जी। शुक्राना गुरु जी महाराज जी सत्संग में बुलाने का, संगत में बिठाने का, सत्संग शेयर करने की ब्लेसिंग्स देने का, भुला चुका गलतियाँ माफ़ करना। गुरु जी महाराज की हम सब पे बहुत बहुत कृपा है, स्पेशली मेरे और मोनू पे। गुरु जी ने हमें बहुत प्यार से संभाले रखा है। जितनी भी प्रॉब्लम्स आई हैं उन हर सब प्रॉब्लम से गुरुजी ने हमें बहुत प्यार से निकाला है। गुरुजी का स्वरूप एटलीस्ट मैंने सबसे पहले देखा था 16 अक्टूबर 2010, which was also our wedding day, and I had already been diagnosed with breast cancer 6 weeks before that. So Monu and my journey was starting on a very challenging and difficult note, and गुरुजी ने फिर हमें 2018 में समरसेट टेम्पल जब खुला था, हम समरसेट में ही रहते थे। ओनली 3 years ago गुरुजी की ही मर्ज़ी से हम फ्लोरिडा मूव हुए हैं, बट गुरुजी ने हमें बार बार बुलाया, हफ्ते में 3 बार बुलाया, लंगर प्रसाद खिला खिला के, जल प्रसाद खिला खिला के हमें क्योर किया, ठीक किया। Shabads are food for soul and Langar Prasad is medicine for your body. That is what we have learned over the years. I want to share a couple of satsangs related to my health that have happened recently. And then I want to share satsang about my father's passing on July 7th. So December of 2021, I was in the hospital, which is a norm for us to, I've had 8 surgeries, chemo, radiation, everything in the past 12 years. So we were in the hospital for a totally different, unrelated test to be done. And we were told there's an incidental finding of a huge liver lesion. And we were convinced. Mono is usually the more practical and calm one. In fact, when there is a problem, he becomes more calm, and that was the first time I heard him say, if this has come back, we will deal with it. This time we have Guruji with us too. So on 27th December 2021, they scheduled my test. And right away, Monu said, number 7, nothing wrong can happen. And this is the same boy who wanted nothing to do with Guruji, by the way, when this journey started. So that morning, as I always do when I'm not well, when my mind is clogged with anxiety, fear, questions, I go to the Guruji Darbar we have in our home, in Guruji's home, and I lay down there. I just lay down, and Guruji declutters my thoughts, relieves me of my anxiety and my fears. And I did that. I am not able to sleep through nights. No medication helps me. So I was awake all night, and then I just went to Guruji's Darbar and I laid down there. I said, I'll go back, I'll wake up Mono, and in a little bit we will go to the hospital. And I think I must have slept 15 minutes, but I felt like I was sleeping there for hours. And I got up with a very, very sharp burning sensation all over, starting from my abdomen to my chest, and it didn't make sense to me. And I just got up like anybody would do. I was like, I'm just gonna go drink some water, go wake up Mono. And we went to the hospital. We were at the light where we have to make a left to go into the Mayo Clinic, and I said to Mono, one of the other things that I do is I read Light of Divinity every time I am uncomfortable. I said, Mono, this morning I read a satsang. I just opened a random page, and it was about some Uncle Ji who had a test, and then he goes back in a few days and nothing comes up in his results. And there are many such satsangs in Light of Divinity. And he just looked at me and he nodded his head. He's like, okay, we go. Manu never comes with me for any test. This time he requested them that I want to sit in the room where the tests are happening. They allowed. He never goes and reads anything on any of the Guruji groups, but he says while he was sitting there and she was performing the test, randomly a satsang appears. He opens WhatsApp, and that's the first thing that appears. And he's like, I never go on this group. And it's about, it was in two parts. One was about Guruji's Mahima, and one was about Shivling pe jal kyun ho chadta hai. And if I remember correctly, it was about how Shivling takes all the bad energy, and I think it gets warm, and it's pe jal hona chahiye and all that. So anyways, this technician is doing all the tests, and she's going at it. I mean, she's going at it, and I'm convinced she's found something. And then she turns on the lights, and she's like, I'm gonna go call the doctor. And we were like, okay, you know, whatever it is. And Mono's like, keep yourself calm. You read this satsang that I was reading. She comes back after 5 minutes, and she's like, you can go home. There is nothing over there. There is not even a speck of that big lesion that was supposed to be there. And there is no explanation. And Jai Guruji, you know, there are no words. Him and I just froze. We just looked at each other, and I kept asking her, I said, there is no need to repeat this test. And she's like, nope, absolutely not. You can go, and whatever you are doing, whoever you are believing in, continue to do that. So we came home. The first thing we did was, you know, did our shukranas. Jal Prashad has become very, very important in our lives, and the next satsang is about Jal Prashad and its curing abilities. And the next satsang is something that has shaken me to my core, at least. I know Guruji is around me. He makes me realize that every step of the way, whether it is a fragrance, whether it's a butterfly, but we are humans. You know, we have self-inflicted doubts at times, especially at times when we are surrounded by difficulties and we can't see the path. I had to go through a procedure May of last year. And after the procedure, they said, we're going to have to go aggressive, and we are going to have to do a complete hysterectomy for you. I was not prepared for it. Physically, I was very, very tired. Emotionally, I was drained. But Guruji ne guidance di, and 14th December, the surgery was scheduled. One of the shabads that I relate with Guruji speaks to me through that shabad. Every time I need a guidance, that shabad plays, and that shabad is, So Satguru Pyara Mere Naal Hai. As soon as we entered the hospital, my phone was off. We entered the parking lot. We got out of the car, and the shabad just starts playing. I mean, I'm looking at the board that says surgery, and the shabad just starts playing. And Mona's like, you know, you need to put your phone away, and we need to go. And I'm like, I didn't do anything. It just started playing. The surgery went as planned. It was a surgery that happened in the nick of time. And but the recovery was extremely difficult. I had a reaction to the anesthesia. They told us, you're not going to go home today. You're going to have to stay here tonight. And my vitals were fluctuating. There were a lot of things happening that were unexplained. You know, they kept asking Mono about my history again and again, and some numbers were just not making sense. I was in and out of my consciousness. And they admitted us. And Mono whispers in my ears, the room number is 304. 4 plus 3 is 7. Guruji's with you. You can do this. And I'm like, okay. And so we are in the room. Where I'm laying down, from there, all I can see is a bed that can be a couch that can be pulled out as a bed, and there is a recliner to my left where Mono is sitting. I said to Mono, pull that bed out, make yourself comfortable. You've been awake for 48 hours at this point. And he's like, nope, I don't want to make myself too comfortable. And he, in fact, emptied that whole couch. There were 2 bags over there. He put that to the side too. And around midnight, all of my vitals just dropped. I think at one point there were about 7 or 8 nurses and doctors in the room. And nothing was making sense to me. And all I could see from my eyes that I could barely open, and I had Guruji's Swaroop in my hand the whole time. Every time I go for a surgery, every time I go for a procedure, I request every single person that this Swaroop has to be with me. Worst case scenario, they tuck it in my hair cap, or they put it under the bed. But, Guruji's Swaroop has to be with me. So I'm holding on to this Swaroop tight, and all I can see from my eyes that I can barely open is that on that couch that I told Monu to pull and sleep, on that couch, I literally see Guruji sitting there in a white chola sab with his head tilted and a big smile on his face. And I cannot remember anything else around me. I was so fixated on Guruji that whatever they were doing, whatever the doctors were doing, they had to do. 4 a.m., this thing is going on and on and on. I'm dry heaving, throwing up, everything, 4 o'clock, usually the nurses switch at 7 a.m. 4 o'clock, there comes a very petite, tiny nurse, Nurse Anna. She's the only one who's wearing a mask. So all we can see is her eyes and her forehead. And believe me when I tell you, it is Guruji's eyes and Guruji's forehead. That's all I could see. And I started looking again at this couch. I don't see Guruji anymore. I start getting very nervous. I say, Monu, Guruji idhar baithe hue the, Guruji nahi hai. He's like, have you looked at the nurse? Like, did you look at the nurse? I said, yeah, she has resemblance to Guruji. He's like, it is Guruji. So she came, she took charge. The first thing she said to Monu and me were, I will make sure she walks out of here. Because all I kept telling everybody there was, I need to go home. I just wanted to go home and sit in Guruji's darbar because I was convinced once I can get there, I'll be fine. I will heal. So I kept requesting them, I need to go home. I need to go home. Please send me home. So she says to Monu and me, that's the first thing she said, I will make sure she goes home today. I will be taking care of her. And she did everything. She gave me my medications by hand. She fed me food by hand. She fed me water, ice chips, whatever it was. And around 11 o'clock in the morning, this is happening since 4 a.m., there's nobody in the room. Monu, myself, and we have Nurse Anna. Again, she has her mask. She's never taken out the mask the whole time. And she sees Guruji's Swaroop in my hand, and she starts talking to us. She asks Monu, she's like, where in India are you from? And Monu says, I'm a Sikh, I'm from Delhi. And she starts this conversation about how she has read books on Sikh gurus. And she goes into very detailed conversation, and in the middle of the conversation, as she's talking to her, the tone of her voice completely changes. It gets very nasally and a little sharp. And I've not heard, up until then, I had not heard too many videos of Guruji's voice. But when I'd shared this satsang with another Sangatji, and they said Guruji's voice was a little nasally, I said, okay. But what she said was interesting to us. So she touches my hand. She touches the Swaroop. She looks at both of us and she says, you will always be together. This will always be with you. I will always be with you. And she said a couple things to us, which as a husband and wife only we know that it was around us not being able to have children. She said some things to put us at ease, and there was no way, not even a third person knew about this. So there was no doubt in our mind that wo Guruji hi hain jo hamare paas khade the. So at 11 o'clock she comes, she makes me sit on the chair, and she leaves a walker in front of me. They had tried twice before that I will be able to walk. I wasn't able to. She says, I'm going to leave this, and when you find your strength, come find me. So at around 1:30, she came, She fed me lunch and she went again. And then she didn't come back. And I said, Monu, I have to go find Guruji. He's like, okay, we can do that. I hold on to the walker. I walk the entire floor, and she's standing in the corner in her white scrubs with her head tilted, just like Guruji. I go near her and she's like, I think you're ready to go home now. And I was ready to go home. I was able to keep my food down. My vitals were better than the time that I was admitted into the hospital. And when we were leaving, Monu's hand was on my hand that had Guruji's Swaroop. She just puts her hand, one hand on our hand and the other hand on Monu's forehead, and she says, you have a divine blessing, you take care of her. And it was Guruji. Only Guruji can do things where science fails, all else fails. Being involved in clinical research, when you see all the numbers, when you deal with side effects and adverse events as your profession, things don't make sense. And I've reached a point where I don't want to make sense. I don't want to make sense of anything that Guruji does for me, for us, because he has an ultimate plan that only he knows how he wants to execute, and Guruji's timing is impeccable. 7th July is one of my most favorite time of the year because it's so close to my birthday, which is 5th July, and I look forward to this time. Dad had been in India for a year and a half. His health was starting to not favor him in coming to stay with us anymore. In fact, it was this very mandir that I would come with my dad every single time. And 3rd July, randomly, and one more thing I've realized, जब भी गुरुजी ने कोई भी difficult situation create करनी होती है, कोई भी difficulties आती है, in fact, it's Guruji who's handling it. हमारे में तो हिम्मत ही नहीं होती है. He creates this, he does things in such a way that you are sitting right next to him, right by him, you're getting the courage to get through that. So Dad was perfectly normal. I had a conversation with him on June 30th. He was in very good spirits. He told me, I will call you on July 5th, and everything was normal, like it's supposed to be. We get a call on July 3rd, late in the evening. Some Sangat ji जिनके घर पे हम in Florida कभी भी नहीं गए हैं, and they tell Monu, हम every Tuesday हमारे घर पे पूरी मर्यादा के साथ गुरुजी का सत्संग करते हैं और आप ना विश्वा आंटी को लेके कल पहुंच जाना. And I said to Monu, I said, just like this, randomly he called. He's like, yeah, we were having a conversation about playlist or something, and he just said that you come tomorrow. I've never been to this Sangat ji's house, but even before I could ring the doorbell, Mahamrityunjay mantra was playing in there so loudly, it was so clearly, you know. We go in their house, we start the satsang. In the middle of the satsang, Chapai starts, and Monu gets a call from my brother, who I have not seen in 18 years. It's a video call, and my dad is being rushed to the intensive care. Monu calls me out. I couldn't see it. I've never seen my father moaning in pain to the point that I couldn't take it. And I couldn't understand what happened because I spoke to him, everything was fine, and he always calls me, even unko jara se bhi घबराहट होती है, he will call me. So nothing was making sense. Monu told me, I will speak to Kamal, you go in and you sit, and I became completely numb. All I remember telling Guruji was, whatever it is that you want to do, साथ में रहना, हिम्मत देना, whatever it is that you want to do, जो आपकी मर्जी. Dad's health improved on July 5th. Dad had his BiPAP machine. He couldn't talk, but he hand gestured with his thumbs up. He hand gestured, blessing me. That's my last memory of my father. which is the most beautiful memory because he was blessing, he was in high spirits. And when it was midnight over here, going from July 5th to July 6th, we got that phone call that I was dreading the most. And they told us that we have to put him on a ventilator and it's not looking good. And I did the only thing that I know to do. I sat outside Guruji's darbar. I told Guruji, I'm not going to come in your darbar and cry. I don't know what your plan is. मैं यहीं बैठी रहूँगी. We booked the next flight out. Things just started getting worse. His numbers started, they were bad. I mean, it would have been a miracle if he would pull out of it. And even if he would pull out of it, only ardas I did to Guruji was, and there's a lot of power in ardas. I said, अगर इनको ठीक करना है तो 100% ठीक करो, नहीं तो आप इनको अपनी शरण में ले लो, बिकॉज इनका ध्यान रखने वाला इंडिया में कोई नहीं है और मैं आ जा नहीं सकती हूँ. गुरुजी नोज एवरीथिंग. वो बिन बोले सब जानते हैं. We were on our way to midnight satsang for Guruji's birthday when we got a call that my father passed away. I couldn't make it to India in time. And before that, it was 8:30 around our time. I can't remember the time exactly. Some Sangatji was calling us. It's Kichi uncle. A lot of you might know him. And I didn't take his call because I was not in the right frame of mind to talk. Monu called uncle back and uncle said to Monu, what I'm hearing about Vishwa's father, is it right? And he said, yes. We didn't, he's on a ventilator. We're trying to get there. And he said, there is Guruji's message for Vishwa. She will have to accept Guruji's wishes, Guruji's will. She will have to accept Guruji's will. And there are laws of nature that we cannot defy. And I said to Monu, what does that mean? When I looked at that dad's death summary, there are no coincidences in Guruji's darbar. I've learned that over the years too. The exact time that Kichi uncle called me was the exact time my dad passed away. I had not been to India in 18 years. And again, Guruji ने अपने पास बुलाया, उस सत्संग में बिठाया, बहुत energy दी. We drove to Orlando. We took our flight. I had not been to India in 18 years. I had not seen my brother in 18 years. We go from the airport to the morgue, from the morgue to the crematorium. I've never been to a crematorium. I had no clue what was happening around me. But every step of the way, मुझे कभी roses की खुशबू आ रही है, कभी चंदन की खुशबू आ रही है, कभी jasmine की खुशबू आ रही है. And I keep telling Monu, Guruji is with us. Monu is like, yep, yes. In India, everybody around me fell sick. I think he lost like 8 pounds in like 7 days. We had to prepone our tickets, and I did not even so much so sneeze in India. I did not fall sick at all. I had a whole bag of medications that I carry wherever I go, including when I had to come here. And I didn't fall sick. We come back, and all I kept telling Guruji was, Guruji, मुझे अपने पास बुलाओ, मुझे अपने पास बिठाओ. I am missing you. We were stranded at JFK airport for 9 hours. We were so tired physically, emotionally. I was sitting on the floor, and that's all I kept saying, Guruji, अपने पास बुला लो, थोड़ी देर के लिए किसी सत्संग में बिठा दो. And Monu comes to me in a little bit. He was standing in the line to cancel the tickets, to rebook the tickets, whatever. He's like, okay, we are going to take a flight out on Tuesday because Monday evening we are going to go to the Somerset temple and we are going to sit there. And I just look at him, and we went to, from JFK, we went to Newark. From Newark, we went to Mona's mom's house in Bedminster. We stayed there. Monday, we came here. And it was the same Shabad When I first walked into these doors on June 18, it was the same Shabad that was playing, and I sat in the same spot that I always sit, and I was surrounded by Guruji's love. All the fear, all the anxiety. I had a lot of guilt because my dad kept asking about me. He kept writing my name again and again, apparently on a piece of paper. And I said to Guruji, मेरी एक ही request है. Can you tell me if my dad is peaceful? I don't want to know anything else. Can you please tell me my dad is peaceful? As I rested with these thoughts, as I rest my head against the wall, Guruji shows me a beautiful vision. Guruji is in white chola sahab. My grandmother is sitting next to him, and my dad is sitting right next to my grandmother with chote se Bal Gopal in his hand. My dad was a very big follower of Krishan ji, and he would always say कि उनको गुरुजी में कृष्ण जी दिखते हैं. And that put me at peace. गुरुजी के सत्संग, our life is a सत्संग. गुरुजी ने इस शरीर में खाली जान नहीं डाली है. He has taught us the meaning of living life. गुरुजी ने बहुत कुछ सिखाया है, बहुत सत्संग है. शुक्राना गुरुजी महाराज जी for your endless, countless blessings. Shukrana for your unconditional love. Shukrana for all those difficulties and challenges जो आप कभी हम तक पहुँचने ही नहीं देते हैं. Shukrana for all those difficulties and challenges जिनमें आपने हमें और भी प्यार से संभाले रखा है. हमारा हाथ हमेशा ऐसे थामे रखना, हमें हमेशा अपनी चरनी शरनी रखना, भुला चुका गलतियाँ माफ़ करना, सर्वथा भला करें गुरुजी. शुक्राना शुक्राना, अनंतम अनंतम शुक्राना गुरुजी महाराज जी. जय गुरुजी, जय गुरुजी संगत जी.